So when I filmed this video, I actually didn't show Andres like an update of how he looks, and he's about to be 4 months this month, August 22nd. So here you go. He's freaking huge. He's so freaking fat. Oh, thanks. But this is him. He's very big now. Okay, no. Back to the video where I share the story of how I gave birth to this little guy. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I have decided that today is the day I need to film my labor and delivery story time, whatever. I also told y'all to ask me questions on my YouTube community, so I will be answering those after I tell the story. I finally hung up my 100 plaque or plate. I already filmed this and go, okay? I told my mom go because I was taking a video. I should have wrote down notes of what I was gonna say because I was all over the place and I kept messing up, and it was like 3 hours long. Only for me to not like how I was talking, because I was talking like boring as hell. So like y'all are gonna fall asleep halfway through the story. I'm gonna add this clip in, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to let me know you like this video, and also turn on your post notifications right next to the subscribe button so you know every time I upload. And also, if you guys would like to keep up with me on a regular basis, I do have Instagram at mel.issatorres, and I do post a little bit more on my Snapchat. So yeah, let's continue on with the video. So let's begin. I'm just gonna be doing a get ready with me because I didn't really want to do a sit down talk video. So okay, let's start with April 20. That was a Monday, and that's the day my mucus plug was starting to come down. Not all of it, but part of it. And that day my back started hurting. And also 5 days before I gave birth, my mom was taking me on 1 mile walks. So that's probably what led it, like, the baby to come down. So 2 days before my mucus plug started coming down, that's when my mom started taking me on walks. And then Monday, my mucus plug was starting to come down. And I remember that night I couldn't sleep, so I didn't get much sleep Monday night. And then Tuesday night, my mucus plug was coming down more, and then obviously I didn't sleep, and that's the day I went into labor. Like, my labor started, but I didn't go to the hospital till Wednesday morning. Tuesday afternoon, April 21st, my boyfriend had came over like in the afternoon, and I wasn't having any contraction pain. I was just having back pain, and you know, I was just laying in bed all day. We were like watching movies. I was just going through back pain, and all I wanted to do was lay down. But I told myself, you know, I need to go on my 1 mile walk. So I told him. He was like, okay. So we went on the mile walk. I walked like, I think, a mile or a little bit less than a mile, I can't remember, but I did not walk over a mile because I couldn't anymore. Like, usually I take like 2 laps around my neighborhood, but this time I only took 1. It was tiring. It was probably like 7 by the time we came back home after the walk, and that's when I was like, it wasn't hurting. It was just like, I guess like a cramp. Like, cramps sometimes can be uncomfortable and sometimes it can be like painful. I wasn't really keeping track because I didn't know that they were contractions, and I didn't think it was a big deal because I was like, I'm pretty darn sure he's not gonna come before his due date. I started getting like on my yoga ball, just bouncing around, and we were in the kitchen, and I think we had gotten up to get food or something from like the fridge. I remember just resting over the counter because I got like this very uncomfortable. That one did hurt a little bit, and my boyfriend was like, what's going on? And I was like, nothing, I don't think it's anything, it just hurt a little bit. And my boyfriend was actually the one that was like, do you want to watch like a show or something to distract yourself? Because I think he knew that I was like going through some pain, uncomfortable pain. But I couldn't even watch the show. We were watching Narcos. I was just holding his hand, like laying down on my side, like he told me, he's like, what if the baby comes today? And I was like, and he left like at midnight. My mom, I feel like she knew that I was going into labor soon, and I also told her that my mucus plug started coming down. She's like, I think you're gonna be going into labor soon, like within these days. My mom started like preparing me of what I was gonna go through. She's like, you're gonna feel like your back is gonna like rip apart. Okay, thanks, because that does not help. But basically this part was hurting a lot. Right here, it hurts so much because my mom's like anti-epidural, because she had heard stories like, no quedas igual, like you're never the same after the epidural, like your back messes up or something and it hurts all the time. And I don't think that's the case with everybody. So she was just like super anti-epidural with me, like, you better not get the epidural. I mean, obviously I didn't want to get the epidural because I don't think anybody likes the fact that a needle's going down your back. I remember me and my mom got into this argument about the epidural. I was like, why are you so against it? What happens if I get it? Like, are you gonna get mad? Are you like not gonna talk to me no more? My mom didn't get the epidural either for me or my brother, but she was like, I just see it in you that you can do it like without it. And I'm pretty sure like anybody can do it. It just takes a lot. That was like a sidetrack story. Basically, I went into labor knowing that it's okay to get the epidural, but I'm gonna try not to. Anyways, so my boyfriend left like at 12 a.m. and I remember laying in bed like by myself, just going through the pain. And my mom came in the room and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, like it hurts." She laid down with me. I remember getting up to go to the bathroom, and I checked and it was my mucus plug, like a lot of it with blood, like dried up blood. And it was already like his due date, April 22nd. And I did not think he was gonna come on his due date. Anyways, oh my god, no, the lighting's super bad. So yeah, that happened. That's when I texted my boyfriend, and I don't want to call him a dumbass, but he was dumb for doing this. He kind of like suspected that I was going through pain, and he still decides to go out like late at night with his friend. And he was still texting me. When my mom was like, "You're going into labor," I was just like, this is a sign, like I need to tell him. So I told him, I was like, "Go home, get your stuff, and come back." During the time he went to his house and got his stuff ready, I took a shower. And I remember it just got worse after my mucus plug completely came down. And I started crying in the shower because all of a sudden, like the pain started to get so bad. Not super duper bad, but still like it hurt so much that I couldn't stand up and take a shower. I was like hunching over on the floor, letting the hot water shoot on my back. And that was only the beginning. So I started preparing myself for the worst. So I was like, no, like take it like a champ because it's gonna get worse. Oh, by the way, during the story time, I might be all over the place, but also I don't want to scare anybody to have kids, anybody that's going into labor. You are gonna get through it. I just wanted to share mine, how it went. That shit hurts, so if you are a teenager, make sure you know what you are doing. I also took a shower because I wanted to go into the hospital clean, you know. And if you guys are curious, I always feel like girls ask this, if they had hair down there while giving birth. I didn't. I don't care. Throughout my whole pregnancy, even though it was hard to shave, I still did. You gotta do what you gotta do. I'm the type of person who cares, okay? But if you don't care, then do you. After taking a shower, I went back to bed because I didn't, like, you know, like when you're going through pain, you just want to like do whatever makes you feel better. But if you're gonna take anything from this video, when you have your baby, when you're going in through labor, just take advantage during the beginning to actually open up your cervix or whatever. Because when you're actually going through it, like active labor, that's when you should do what's comfortable. Like if laying down makes you feel comfortable, if sitting down makes you feel comfortable, then that's what you should do. My mom was the one to tell me, get up and start walking. So I started walking, and while I was walking, it was so hard. This is how I'd walk. I would walk through my contractions, and when I wasn't going through the contraction, I would rest. Like I would sit down. I'm saying this because a lot of people are asking me like what did you do to get through it? This is just what I did, and maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't. I'm just sharing it. Throughout my pregnancy, I would look up how to breathe through contractions. That helped a lot. And then my boyfriend got here around 3 a.m. It's funny because he was like, I'm gonna be there while you're going through the pain. He fell asleep, but I wasn't mad because I was like, you're gonna be with me when I give birth, so I need you to have energy when I give birth. His mom was the one that was gonna take us to the hospital, so she was like, just call me whenever you want to go. So yeah, he got here at 3 a.m. he fell asleep. The whole time I was walking around, I'm gonna tell y'all until when I was walking around. And I would take breaks like on my sofa when I wanted to, like I couldn't walk anymore. My contractions were like 5 minutes apart, sometimes 4. By the longest like 6 minutes, and they lasted about 40 seconds to like a little bit over a minute. A minute is a very short amount of time, but time goes by so slow when you're going through pain. Okay, I need to like set this concealer because it's creasing already. When I got to the hospital, I left my house at 7. I kept holding back. I remember my mom asking me, do you want to go to the hospital at 5? I was like, no. 6 a.m. do you want to go? No. And then 7, I was like, okay, fine, let's go. And also throughout my labor, my mom decides to laugh at me. I was definitely mad at my mom. I was like, bro, why the heck are you laughing at me? And she was like, no, it's just you look funny while you're going through a contraction. And I was just like, get out. You don't remember this pain because it was like 17 years ago when you had me. And she got mad at me. She's like, you better take it down 2 notches or something like that. My mom was also like, no te cobardes, no te cobardes. And I was like, bro, shut the hell up. Like, I don't want to hear that. Basically what that means is like, you know, don't let it get to you. Okay, so it was 7 a.m. we got to the hospital, and my OBGYN, I was a private patient of this OBGYN. I was thinking, I'm a private patient of this dude, so he's gonna deliver my baby, right? And I guess because the whole coronavirus thing, whatever shift the doctor's on, that's the doctor that's gonna deliver your baby, at least for my hospital. And I got there just on time for him to deliver my baby because his shift was over at 8 and it was like 7:50. He's like, I'm gonna come back for you when you give birth. And then I was like, what? Like, who's gonna deliver my baby if you weren't here? And he was like, this doctor. I don't remember what doctor it was. I was like, oh, okay, thank God, because I really wanted him to deliver my baby. Also, when I got to the hospital, I was wheelchaired into the room, and both my OBGYN that delivered my baby was there, and my old OBGYN was there too. I used to go to this clinic, and I didn't really like it, and my mom switched me over to this private doctor. Anyway, she was there, and I was like, what the heck? Right when getting into the room, they, you know, make you get naked, well, in the bathroom. Then you have to, you know, come sit down and let them put the monitors over you. They just look like bands, and that's the regular ones. There's a different type of monitor you can get. It's just a little bit more expensive, but if you have insurance, you're good. They make you sign a whole bunch of papers. Like, bro, like, I don't want to sign those while I'm going through pain. When I sat down, I remember my old OBGYN holding me over my shoulder, going up to me, do you want the epidural? And I was like, no. She was like, okay. And then I was like, I held her hand and I was like, wait, the epidural? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, not yet, at least. My guy OBGYN was getting ready to check my cervix. Oh, by the way, my boyfriend went in with me. And also when they dropped us off, my mom and my boyfriend's mom was there. And I remember crying again because I was sad that my mom couldn't be there. Like, I wanted my baby daddy there because I obviously want him to see his son born, but like I didn't want him to faint on me. Oh, back to when they were checking my cervix. I'm all over the place. I'm not yelling, but kind of in a mad voice, like, I'm gonna be so mad if I'm not dilated. And my OBGYN, my old one, started laughing. She's like, I would be mad too. And then they checked me and I was 6 centimeters dilated. Thank God, Jesus Lord. So I remember being there and the nurse was just asking me questions to fill out your papers or whatever. And she was like, do you want the IV? And I looked at her and I was like, no, I'll just see how it goes. And she's like, okay. And when all the nurses left, I called her back and I was like, can I get the IV? And she started laughing. She's like, yeah, sure. And some people, it doesn't work on them. That bitch kicked in for me because I was able to still feel them, but like breathe through them. I was able to like even close my eyes through the contractions. And you can get the IV, the pain medication, every 3 hours. And it lasts, depending, it lasts an hour to sometimes it lasts 2 hours. I don't remember how long it lasts for me. I think the first time it lasted like an hour and a half, and the second time it only lasted like 30 minutes. And by like 9:30, I was 7 centimeters dilated. The doctor came back and he came to break my water. When you're going through a lot of pain, it's kind of like a blur. If I'm not mistaken, I seen like this big hook and he stuck it up me and he took it out, and I just felt this warm water gush come down my vagina. It just felt so weird, and it did hurt a little bit for him to stick it up. That sounded weird. It was probably like all the way from like 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They kept checking me and I was still 8 centimeters, 8.5 centimeters. It sucked because this whole time I was like, the worst part of labor is when you're transitioning to 8 centimeters to 10 centimeters. They didn't tell me I was stuck, but I'm pretty sure I was stuck, or maybe they did tell me and I didn't remember. Throughout my labor, my boyfriend was right beside me. Since he was only running on 3 hours of sleep, when I would be on the IV, I remember him just sitting down on the couch kind of resting. And even though I had the IV, there was some contractions that came in like a bus. And I remember sometimes like screaming his name, like, Jordy, come here. I remember squeezing his hand. When he was right next to me, he was like shaking his leg. And I felt like the whole world was moving. So I would like tell him like, stop shaking. Like I would get mad at him. And I think it was like 3:20. He had said, do you want to push to 10 centimeters? I was like, yeah, like I want to get this baby out. Oh, I forgot to mention this. After they broke my water, they kind of just left me there laying down, and nobody was paying attention to me. So I was tossing and turning and I was like, help me. My OBGYN was like, give her the IV pain medication. And then the other nurse was like, no, she's already 8 centimeters dilated. I guess you're not supposed to get it. And thank God he gave them permission because it did help a little bit. It did not work that good for me the second time. So you guys, the IV made me really, really sleepy somehow. I don't know why, it just did. When I had that IV for the first time, I looked drugged up. It is very hard to push. It is like taking a shit, but it's like the shit you've never taken. Whenever you have a hard poop to push out, it's like that. It's that type of pressure, but more, because it's a big ass head. On top of that, you have the contraction and you have to push, and you're like sweating and you're like thirsty, and in this case I was. and I also couldn't breathe. I was like breathing like if I didn't have anybody in front of me to tell me breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, then I couldn't be able to breathe. Oh my god, I keep forgetting to mention this. When I was going through the pain, when I needed to scream and I didn't want to scream like ah, I remember getting the blanket and shoving it in my mouth and like screaming. And I don't have that type of boyfriend to tell me like, you know, you can get through this, you can do it. At least during labor he didn't tell me stuff like that, and thank god he didn't, because I would have gotten mad as hell. He would just tell me like, what do you want me to do? Do you want to hold my hand? So in total it took like 30 to 45 minutes for me to push from 8 centimeters to 10 and push out the baby. And he was born at 4:10 p.m. He was 7 pounds 3 ounces, 20 inches long, pretty big baby if you ask me. By the way, you guys, this next part I'm going to be talking about was while I was still contracting. I know I just said that, you know, I pushed out the baby, but I'm kind of all over the place in this video, okay? My bad. I remember telling them, you know, I want to get up and get on like the yoga ball or like stand up or something. So that's when they switched the monitor into like this fancy one that just stuck onto my stomach, like 1, 2, 3, 4 patches, and then like this ball right here. You just have to ask for it, I think, and they don't use it on everybody because it is a more expensive one, so they don't use it all the time. But I didn't know about that one. The nurse was super nice. She was like, I'm gonna give you this one so you can like get up and like, I don't know, progress. Let's get back to when the baby was out. I pushed out his head. I had to like clean his face, and I remember seeing his head and I wanted to start crying right then and there, but I couldn't, because if I started crying then I wouldn't be able to like push out the rest of his body. So I held in my tears, and they didn't make me wait that long, probably like 30 seconds, and then they said, okay, push out his body. And it's weird because they weren't even telling me when to push. Maybe this will help somebody. It definitely helped me, and the doctor told me to let the contraction build up a little and then push like with all I got. And you probably have to push 3 times throughout one contractions for 10 seconds. And I remember also them putting the oxygen thing because I could not breathe. It's so weird because I will never forget this feeling, like the feeling of my baby's weight for the first time on me. It's so weird, like it's the weirdest feeling ever. And also when the baby comes out completely, it's the weirdest detachment feeling ever. Oh, this is really weird, I forgot to mention this, but while I was pushing, I was peeing. All my pee was like coming down. I remember sweating so much, and my hair was messy and horrible. And then my boyfriend cut the umbilical cord. They recorded that, and Jesus Christ, I saw my cooch, and it looked so weird. And no, I did not poop while pushing, but I did think it was kind of weird for me to pee while pushing. And I feel like I had the best nurses to coach me through pushing, because it was 2 black nurses, 2 Hispanic nurses, and 1 white American nurse. And the only ones I felt like that got me through it were the 2 black nurses, because one of them was massaging my vagina, and it hurts. That one hurts. But I'm so glad she did, because I felt like that prevented me from tearing worse. And the other one was coaching me through it. She's like, you know, push 1, 2. She was talking to me like that, like yelling at me, but I thank her for that, because if she wasn't yelling at me, then I would probably be like, I can't. I only told myself I can't once. And when I said it, she was like, yes, you can. And I was like, I just kept pushing. Like right after giving birth, it was weird, because although I was peeing a lot while pushing, I needed to pee after birth. So I told the lady I need to pee. So they took me and I peed, and I started feeling dizzy. I took off my gown. I started peeing. I cleaned myself. I remember that with like the water squishy bottle thing, and I fainted. And I remember my boyfriend telling me like, babe, I guess he was gonna offer me part of his public sub, and one of the nurses was like, she can't talk right now. I went back to the bed, and the first thing they gave me was like orange juice. It was the nurse that was coaching me through it. She was like, drink that. I drank it, and it made me feel better. I think my blood sugar went down or something. But yeah, you guys, that was my birth story. Super dead right now, but postpartum wise, I had this one very, very nice nurse, and I wish I would have like asked her more questions, but I didn't. She was really, really young. Her name was Leslie, and she had like these big eyes, and I remember she told me her coworkers said that we looked alike and that baby could even be hers. Besides the point, she was so nice. Her name, I think I said it already, her name was Leslie, and she had given me a hug. She had given me a whole bunch of free stuff, and I'm so thankful for her. Like, if she ever watches this video, shout out to you, girl. She was also like really encouraging too, like telling me like, I'm so proud of you, you're so young, you're doing so good. And she was also really pretty. So overall she was just really nice. I really wanted to ask her like, what school did you go to? Because it's funny because now I'm like looking into like postpartum nurse, and I never thought I would want to be in the medical field, which I probably won't because I probably won't pass the test, but it's like interesting now to me, you know. And now on to answering questions. I remember one of the questions was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad was it? 100. I like that again. But if I'm answering this question honestly, now that I've given birth, I give myself the credit of having a high pain tolerance, and I would give it a solid 8. I feel like if I would have got the epidural, I would have like been more relaxed. Was the pain of giving birth what you expected or less than what you expected? Not what I expected. Was it hard not having your mom by your side since it was your first time giving birth? Yes. I always thought that my mom would be there when I would give birth to my kids, but it's so weird because I didn't. How long did it take you to recover after giving birth? I consider myself like perfectly fine after the 40 days. And did your water break on your own? No, it didn't. They had to break it. And would you recommend breastfeeding? I recommend it only because it honestly is kind of the best thing for your baby, health-wise. But if you choose not to do it, then that's your choice. Like, I'm not bashing you if you don't. Are you a little bothered by the pandemic because you couldn't enjoy things like shopping or baby shower or other things? I did have my baby shower while we had the pandemic, but it was the beginning. But then it started getting really bad towards the end of my pregnancy, and I wish that I would have been able to still go shopping or like go out to the movies or something while I was pregnant, but I couldn't. Who came up with Andres' name? I did. Actually, before I was pregnant, I already liked that name. I've heard of the name Luke, and I really fell in love with that name. But then I was like, I don't think that name is really gonna fit him, so I went back with Andres very last minute. And Fernando came out of nowhere. Like, I just wanted my kid to have a middle name because I didn't. Somebody asked, how long was your labor? If we're talking about painful labor, I consider myself going through pain from midnight until I gave birth, which is over 16 hours. Okay. Were you ever overwhelmed thinking about having to care for a baby and your whole life changing? I was never overwhelmed. It just hit me, you know. What were your first thoughts when you saw Andres for the first time? I don't know. I just started crying. I knew I was gonna cry, but I did not think I was gonna cry the way I did in my video. Like, and I cut out like the worst parts. Ugly crying. Has your mindset changed ever since giving birth, holding your baby for the first time? By the way, he's so cute. Yes. Oh, thank you, by the way. Yes, like, I just think that I've matured a little bit, or drastically. How was your whole pregnancy experience in general? How did you feel over the course of those months? I'm not gonna lie, I had a really good pregnancy. Being pregnant during a pandemic is not that fun. The only thing I didn't like about my pregnancy was that I had like congestion every morning, and I had to like spit it up, and it was disgusting. Did you have anxiety during the whole thing? I don't think so. I get anxious sometimes, but I don't really think I have anxiety like that. How did you feel after giving birth? Exhausted. Like, I was happy to have him there, but I was exhausted. What was going through your mind through labor and your whole pregnancy in general? Were you scared at all of giving birth? Yes. My worst fear was going into an emergency C-section. Terrified of needles, terrified of, you know, cutting up someone. And you can't really think while you're in labor. But how did your boyfriend react when he saw and held Andres? It was so weird because I didn't think he was gonna cry. He didn't like cry, but right when the baby came out, like his eyes got watery. I was crying like a lot, and I remember him kissing my forehead, and that's when it hit me like, oh shit, like I was screaming and getting mad at you. And I remember telling him sorry. What was the hardest thing about giving birth during a pandemic? Just not having as much people I wanted there. I wish I could have had my mom, his mom, and his grandma, because that was the plan. But in a way, I'm kind of glad that they weren't there, because they were gonna see a side of Melissa they never knew. Not even I knew. How was your first period after the whole pregnancy and recovery? My period was fine. I didn't have like cramps, or it wasn't like a lot of blood. It was like a regular light flow blood that I've always had. Did you accidentally poop while pushing? Oh no. Did you have postpartum depression or the baby blues? I actually didn't. First day I got home, I felt like crying. My boyfriend's family had came over and they're like, oh, how are you? And I wanted to start crying, but I held it in. Like, I just felt so sad. What advice would you give to teen moms that are having their first baby like you? I don't know, I guess like just knowing that everything is gonna be okay. What's one thing you were surprised about that no one really talks about? I didn't know that I was gonna feel super exhausted after giving birth. That might sound dumb, but I didn't know. Like, I didn't know I was gonna feel like drained. I've never felt that way. Has your brother seen your baby? Sadly, no. He was supposed to come when I gave birth, but he ended up not because of the whole quarantine stuff. Were you allowed to eat or drink anything when you were giving birth? No, when you're in labor, I think the only thing you can eat is ice. But when you're pushing, they gave me water because I remember saying like, I'm so thirsty, give me water, and they brought me water. How long were you in the hospital for? I got there Wednesday morning and I didn't leave till Friday afternoon because you're supposed to be there 48 hours after the baby was born. Did you tear? Yes, I did tear. I had a 1st-degree tear. I only had a little bit of stitches and it didn't hurt while giving me stitches because they numbed me, and it did feel like a sting when they were putting in the needles, but it didn't hurt. And pushing out the placentas didn't hurt. When I pooped for the first time, it didn't hurt. It just kind of came out. Peeing for the first time, it stinged a little bit, but not something I was like, oh my god, it hurts so much. I know if you get the epidural, you get the catheter put in, but since I was peeing so much, I felt like they were gonna put the catheter in me, and I swear to god, y'all, I think they put the catheter in me and then they took it out because I remember feeling this very strong sting, like it hurt, and I was like, what's going on? I don't know what they did. They did something to me to like make me stop peeing or something. And also after birth, something I did not know is sometimes you don't have control of peeing. Like sometimes it would just come out, and I should have told a doctor, but I didn't. Because when I got home, I started crying because I couldn't hold in the pee. When they would push down on my stomach after giving birth, that hurt. It hurt a lot. I reviewed the questions and I kind of answered them previously, or what I was talking about. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you took something from it when you have your kid. Oh, somebody also asked if my baby latched on for the first time, and no, he didn't. I actually didn't learn how to latch on until the next day. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you know every time I upload. And also follow me on Instagram at mel.issatorres. See you guys in my next video. I love you all. Thank you. Bye.